Hello everyone, welcome to the Sorare video where today I'll be giving you 10 of my favourite Premier League players that you could invest in right now to potentially make some big profits down the line. So let's run the intro and get right into it. Hi everyone, Jake here. Welcome to my Sorare channel where today, like mentioned, we'll be giving you 10 potential players to invest in Sorare. Before we get started though, with these picks, I'd like to ask you guys to smash the like button for me because it really will help in pushing the video out to as many people as possible, and subscribe to the channel. We're getting close to 1,000 subscribers, so any support will be massively appreciated. Also, if you haven't signed up to Sorare yet and you want to, then click the link in the description, because then if you sign up with that link, not only does it help me and the channel, but also you, because when you buy 5 cards off a new card auctions market, you will get given a brand new card for completely free that could be worth a nice bit of money. So definitely worth doing. And the last thing, of course, this is not financial advice. All of these are just my own ideas and potential picks. It doesn't even mean I'll buy some of these players' cards myself. It's just picks that I think might help you guys in terms of players that could potentially make some money. So let's talk about that to start off with. How can you make money on these investments? Well, when a player is doing well in real life and playing and doing better, naturally there becomes more of a demand for them on the platform, people willing to pay higher prices, and you start to see players' prices increase. For example, if you found an injured player and invested in them when they started playing, you might see their price go up. The same for a player who's maybe not in favour at his club, or maybe even a young star who's yet to break into the first team, that when they do make that step into the first team could make you some potential profit. So all of that will be covered in this video. Loads of different kinds of players with different reasons as to why I think they'd be good investments. But player number one is from my team, from Chelsea. It's Edouard Mendy, a 30-year-old goalkeeper whose limited price comes in at around £32. It might seem like a silly investment, right? Because he doesn't start for Chelsea. Kepa is currently ahead. He's also injured right now, Mendy, and there's rumours Chelsea are looking to buy a new goalkeeper in the summer. Well, I think it's the perfect time, because what this will likely mean is Chelsea aren't going to have Kepa, another keeper, and Mendy on their books, and right now it does not look like Mendy's in favour at all. So there's a few scenarios that I think could happen. One, somehow he makes his way back into Chelsea, becomes their regular starting goalkeeper again, and you'll see his price rise. For reference, I think Kepa's price is currently sitting at way over £100 for his limited card, so you could see where his price might go to Mendy. But I think more likely is that Mendy will leave Chelsea Football Club. In terms of incomings and outgoings, it looks like the owners are going to be pretty ruthless, so if they don't need Mendy, there's a good chance he'll leave, and there's also a good chance he'll go to play for a pretty decent club. I mean, it wasn't too long ago he won the Best Goalkeeper in Europe award, guided Chelsea to a Champions League, and with a good defence in front of him, he can certainly hit a good score. Now that's what I think will happen. I think he'll move to a new club. He'll likely be at a good club as well, so they won't concede too many. Therefore, he'll be playing, and he also won't be getting these terrible scores that he's been having recently, and he'll get back to those good scores, which will in turn raise his price. At the end of the day, this man is 30. He's probably got 5 or 6 years left of his playing career. I'm sure at some point he will move to a club where he is a first team challenger. And obviously this is not financial advice, but I would expect that price would go up for him once he makes that move. Next, we have new Arsenal signing and Polish under-23 centre-back Jakub Kivio. Now, I don't know if I've pronounced that right, but when I was looking for picks for this video, he was one that struck me as a potential goldmine, because right now, his price is really low, and that's what I'm aiming for with a lot of these players, looking at people that even if this didn't work out, you shouldn't lose too much money in theory, because even if you bought him for $10, let's say his price suddenly halves, it's only $5. Hopefully, that's not a massive loss compared to what could be gained, because I do see him potentially picking up some more game time, and you should start to see that price rise significantly once he plays a few minutes in an Arsenal shirt. I say significantly, I'm not talking you're gonna 100 times your money, but I would expect within a few weeks even, if you can get a few appearances for Arsenal, that'll be £15, £20. He's an under 23 player. In Sorare, that's particularly desired, and it means his price is likely going to be higher because of that. And I'm not saying he's going to be an Arsenal starting centre-back or anything like that, but the guy can hit a good score, and now that he's at Arsenal, there's a good chance he can become part of their first team, even if it's just as a rotation option. Maybe don't go for him straight away, keep an eye on him, see if he does start to become part of that Arsenal squad, and maybe he'll force his way into the starting lineup. If nothing else, he's young, he's still got 10 plus years of his career, and at some point, his price is bound to be higher than £10. And sticking on the theme with Arsenal, here's a player that's a very interesting one. It's Rhys Nelson, whose price is currently at somewhere around £10-11, which I think is a pretty good deal for this player. He's a kind of guy that can certainly hit a good score, and when he was on loan from Arsenal, he was doing really well. You can see a lot of green scores here, started to fizzle out a bit, and he's been a bit hit and miss at Arsenal in terms of fitness, and also when he has played. There was that game where he came in and did he score a hat-trick or something stupid like that when he hadn't played for months? It was something crazy, but either way, Rhys Nelson is a good talent at Arsenal. A quick look on Transfermarkt also shows that his contract is expiring at the end of this current season, and right now he has the ability, if he wants, to talk to other clubs. We're seeing a lot of young English players going to other countries and doing well. You've got Lookman, who's playing for Atalanta. Sancho's, of course, done it in the past. You've got Bino Gittins at Dortmund. Even current Arsenal loanee Florian Balogun is also doing very well. But yeah, Nelson, I expect at some point will make a move, go to a team where he's likely going to play a little bit more, and we should see that price rise. It depends really where he moves to. If he goes to, like a Manchester City, which he won't, but if he does and he just becomes another reserve player there, not a good idea. But let's say he goes to the Bundesliga for a lower down Bundesliga club. He's going to play regularly. Chances are he'll score quite well. And I think you might see that price increase. Now we get to the players where we're talking about potential. And we have Newcastle's youngster, Elliot Anderson, who's 20 years old and is under 23 on the platform until 2027. Now remember what I said, under 23s are more heavily desired because there is a unique competition for under 23 players. Now any under 23 starting player is more than often going to cost more than £4, which is why I think it's a good time to get in on Elliot Anderson. It's not going to cost you that much, and there's a very small chance that you'll actually have a significant reduction on the price that you're paying for him here. He's starting to get game time here and there for Newcastle off the bench, only a few minutes, and therefore his scores don't look great. But if he can become a regular starter somewhere, his price will go up. Now, Newcastle, of course, are doing really well this year. There's a good chance they're going to make one of European places. They're then likely going to improve their team. And will there be a place for Elliot Anderson, a young Newcastle prospect? I'm not sure. Maybe he'll potentially get loaned out. Either way, I think this £4 price is a good price to get in on this player because I think there's a lot of upside there. I also make a lot of Football Manager videos, and he is one of the most highly rated young midfield players in the world on that game. So he really is someone that's deemed to have a lot of potential. And it's the same case for the most expensive player in this list by far, Evan Ferguson, who is an 18-year-old striker at Brighton. Now his price is currently sitting at about £60 and his rare is selling for about £350. Now this probably seems like a lot of money, and don't get me wrong, it is, but the fact that he's under 23 until 2029 is massive, and that's why his price is high. Also, he's a striker that's appearing regularly for his team at such a young age, which is really impressive. I think there's going to be a national use for this player as well. I think he will be part of the Ireland setup going forward, and he'll likely get some scores from that. But to get an 18-year-old being a starting striker, it's made him massively desirable, and his price reflects that. Now, he did miss a game to injury. He came back and then played a bit part in their most recent match against Crystal Palace. Now, Guaita had a great game for Palace, but Brighton did seem to struggle to score, and I think they're crying out for him to be back in the first team, to be playing again. And yeah, just those scores recently show exactly how good he can be. If he can keep it up, which will be very hard to do, I think he could potentially be worth way more than this going forward. But obviously, with his price being the highest on this list, there is more risk. Maybe he gets injured and never kicks a ball again. So do bear all of that in mind when you go into potentially investing in these players. My next player is a real bargain bin type player. It's Nathaniel Phillips of Liverpool, whose current price is about £4, which is extremely low, and the reason is the guy does not play. But there was a point where he was playing here and there for Liverpool and didn't look, I mean, he wasn't amazing, don't get me wrong, but he didn't look totally out of place. You can see it back here when he was a big part of their team for a little while and did quite well. And it meant that this season, particularly in January, there was a lot of transfer interest in him, and I think he will play for either a high-level championship side or maybe a relegation Premier League level team, and I think he'll do a decent job. I'm not saying he's going to do anything crazy, but if he can hit these kind of scores consistently, which would be hard, I do think his price is going to go up. I think you'll never really see it much lower than this unless he never plays a game of football again. As soon as he gets some game time somewhere, his price will increase, and for that reason, I think Nat Phillips might not be a bad choice. It's not my best pick of the bunch, but I do think this kind of price is a good one, and certainly he's one to watch. My next player is Caglar Soyuncu of Leicester, who, with the new signing of John Sutnar in defence alongside Wout Fez, he's not starting anytime soon. He hasn't been playing much this season. There's rumours there was a fallout with Brendan Rodgers. He nearly left to go to Atletico Madrid in January. And if he joins a club of that kind of calibre and actually plays for them, he's going to be worth more than £6.50. Now he's 26, still probably got 7-8 years worth of football at a high level. He plays for Turkey's international side, as far as I'm aware. I'm not sure if he's still a regular starter, mind you. But if he does get a move and plays somewhere regularly, I'm sure that'll increase his standing in the national team. But it was only a few seasons ago when he was playing for Leicester after Maguire left that it actually looked like he was, a really good player. And there was tedious links to him joining big clubs like Man City and Chelsea. Even in January, being linked with that move to Atletico Madrid would have been a great move for him. And I do expect him to leave in the summer. So for this kind of price, I think I'm going to get in on it personally. Now, it should be noted with these guys, I'm not saying you're ever going to make, 100 times your money. Obviously, if you invest in rare cards or super rare cards or even uniques, there's a bigger upside. And if you want to play with a higher budget, feel free to invest in the rare cards or the super rares. But I think a lot of people do play with these limited cards. And our next player is another potential investment because he is so young. It's Hugo Bueno of Wolves. After their new manager came in, they've had a slight resurgence where they're playing a little bit better and starting to pick up a few more points. And Hugo Bueno has made his way into the first team. Now, he's not a nailed on starter, don't get me wrong. It seems like he's in one game out the next, in one game out the next. But again, he's under 23. He's about 10, 12 pounds currently. He can score well when he plays. You can see when he does get 90 minutes, he has the chance to do pretty well. If Wolves can start to pick up more clean sheets and be that European challenging team again, which by the way is way off for them right now, but if they could potentially do it and Hugo Bueno is a part of that team, he will be worth more than this £10 price. My final two players now, and we have currently injured goalkeeper, according to Transfermarkt, Alfonso Ariola, who when I was looking at the players for this video, I didn't even remember he played for West Ham, and this just reminded me. So currently, their keeper is Fabianski, who's pretty old at this stage, and Ariola is the other goalkeeper, but at one point was challenging for that starting spot and looked pretty decent. His price is currently about 20 quid, and as far as I'm aware, he is injured, but you can see there was a point where he was playing consistently for West Ham, and when they kept a clean sheet, he scored well. Now, being 29 years of age and a goalkeeper and someone that's had a lot of experience at some pretty big clubs, I do expect, even if he doesn't make it at West Ham, he will be a starting goalkeeper somewhere again at some point in his career, almost guaranteed. And for that reason, as long as Sorare exists and the prices stay somewhat similar, his price will go up more than 20 quid if he can become a regular goalkeeper. That's nearly a given. Obviously, the only question is, can he become a regular goalkeeper again? My guess will be, with Fabianski being so old, once he's back from injury, maybe he starts for West Ham next year, maybe he moves club, I don't know. If there's any West Ham fans, let me know your thoughts, but I do think he is someone that will be a starting goalkeeper for some team, somewhere, sometime soon. And my final player is Tino Livramento of Southampton, who currently look like they might have a good chance of getting relegated. Very much might happen, but one of their brightest sparks before he got injured at the start of this year was Tino Livramento, who they signed from Chelsea, and they were using him as a right back or right wing back attacking option. Now, we've had Hassan Hussel leave since then, a new manager been and gone, and he's out with an ACL injury, if I remember right. Basically, you won't see him for a long time, and for that reason, his price is really low. He's currently valued at around 10 quid, and even when he did play, he wasn't scoring completely crazy scores. But again, I think that's because he was at Southampton, who aren't doing great. But at the start of the year, when he was doing well, he was doing really well. Obviously, that injury completely derailed him, and Southampton's form hasn't been great. But when he is back from injury, if Southampton are relegated, I see Livramento playing in the Championship and doing very well for Southampton, who I do think would come back up because they've got a very good young team, and I don't think they'd sell everyone off. I think they'd use that team to push for promotion, and Livramento could be a big part of that. There's also a good chance, if he can perform well, that he moves clubs. I know it's a lot of if, buts and maybes, but he's only 20, plenty of years left in the tank, and as soon as he's back from that injury, if he can come back and hit the ground running, he'll be worth more than 10 quid, almost guaranteed. Someone that was considered one of the brightest right-back prospects in world football until that injury. Former Chelsea Academy product, certainly worth keeping an eye on, and he is my last recommendation from this video. So there you go, 10 players to invest in the Premier League should you want to. Of course, not financial advice, and all of them have completely different reasons, and it's all circumstantial in terms of whether their price will increase, but I think a lot of these are pretty solid picks, and even if the worst of the worst happened, you shouldn't lose too much, because all of them, other than the two goalkeepers and the striker from Brighton, Ewan Ferguson, were under 20 quid. So you wouldn't be losing the biggest amount of money. Of course, play at your own risk, but if you are going to get involved in Sorare, then use my link in the description down below. Like the video if you have enjoyed, and subscribe for more content like this. I'll see you next time, guys. Thank you and goodbye.